Brodes Media.
Hey everyone, we are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, love the Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, or love seeing a jerk-off scream about the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, then make sure you smash that subscribe button and that like button as well. Also, on Twitter, @Brodes81, we just hit 6,000 followers. Make sure you head on over to Twitter, smash that follow button as well. I love you all. I love you all. You are the best. And with that, enjoy the show. Oh, it's happening again. It is happening again. 500 baseball. That's what this team is all about. They climb back to 500, and now, after a Mets loss, they are 2.5 games back, and I see the belief. I feel the fans are getting sucked right back into this because Zach Wheeler is on the mound tomorrow, and they squeezed out a victory in the 9th inning because of Ronald Torreyes coming up huge. Jankowski, who was leading off, and that was a question mark heading into the action. Why move around the top of the lineup? Why throw Jankowski in there? Well, he fed off of toe, and then the big guns started to shine. All right, now we knew the Nationals were depleted in that area, and after the trade deadline, they did not have much. Not that they had much left in the tank before the trade deadline. That's one of the reasons why they made the moves that they did, but let's be realistic. Watching Suarez come in, you knew that you had a great opportunity. You could smell blood, and I have to give credit to the Phillies offense there, whether it was Jean Segura, whether it was JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm adding insurance as well, getting stuck in the rundown on the base paths, which generated another run. You know, it was big for the 9th inning to be played out the way that it did. They smelled blood, and they pounced on that. You know, they had plenty of other chances to score some runs that they didn't. 6th inning, bases were loaded. Rhys Hoskins coming off of the bench, 3 straight pitches. They were saying, all the beat reporters and everyone who covers the team, you know, Rhys is not good to go. Rhys is in a weird spot. So it'll be interesting because if he hits the ball, it better go out of the ballpark. My man cannot run the bases right now. Struck out anyway. Tough spot for him. But that 6th inning, they had a chance. The 4th inning, Bryce and JT Realmuto got on base. Not able to cash in. 3rd inning, it was 1st and 3rd with 2 outs. Nope. And the way you scored your runs were basically an Odubel Herrera bomb and a wild pitch. Other than that, you were searching for answers and searching for ways to get over home plate. Bryce Harper got gunned out by Hernandez out in left field. I have nothing to say really about Bryce Harper taking that chance. You absolutely take that chance. It was just one hell of a throw and a really nice play behind the dish as well to make the tag. It was a very good play for the Nationals, and it's one of those moments where you just tip your cap. But look, it was very big for the Phillies to get this and see if you can spark any sort of momentum. I did not love Joe Girardi's managerial decisions, though, specifically with the bullpen. I just thought it was a flat-out joke and a flat-out embarrassment that Ranger Suarez was yanked after 33 pitches, especially because, one, he was dominating. 1, 2, 3 inning. Dominating. It was 0 signs of needing to be yanked. And then you hear the broadcast discuss how Caleb Cotham was talking about, let's use our eyes. We're going to use our eyes when we are watching him pitch. Well, what did you see that I did not see? And afterwards, you hear Joe Girardi basically saying, we discussed sending him back out there for the 4th inning, but we thought, let's be safe rather than sorry. You're in the middle of a playoff race. Your team stinks and they're 500. They're not really supposed to be in a playoff hunt, but they are. No sense of urgency. I've described this in so many different examples for 3 weeks now. They act as if it's May. They play as if it's June. That's the way they handle this team from the managerial eyes and from the front office eyes. Well, in 33 pitches, I'd rather utilize De Los Santos later on and pray that we can get through Hector Neris, which he did a fine job. But the fact that you had to rely on Hector Neris, Alvarado, Archie Bradley on 3 days in a row. And then, after the explosiveness in the ninth inning, you go to the new guy, Ian Kennedy, and he gets shelled for a 2-run home run. And he has not had a strong 2 outings to this point in Phillies pinstripes in the Phillies uniform. But that's not a recipe for success, what they did. You are not good in that area. Let Ranger Suarez rock for some more time, please. If your goal was 50 pitches, let him go to 50 pitches. I do not get it. I understand how a bullpen piece has to be worked up to be a starter, but I've witnessed bullpen pieces pitch 28 pitches in 1 inning, pitch 26 pitches in 1 inning, pitch 30 pitches in 1 inning. Who cares how many innings? Let the man go. He had more left in the tank, and it was obvious that he was clicking on all cylinders. I just truly do not get it. I thought Joe Girardi managed a horrendous baseball game, even with the Alvarado and the decisions made when Alvarado was out there. Putting De Los Santos in general. I mean, I get it. You don't have a billion options, and you hear afterwards that Connor Brogdon, who has not pitched in a little bit of time, is a bit sore, but they're looking at him for maybe a game in the future here. But now I'm asking myself this question out loud. How sore is he? He probably could go. Let's be realistic. They're probably babying him too and really being cautious. Look, I get how important protecting players really is. At the same time, it's go mode, fellas. It's let's go win this thing. It's let's beat the Mets. It's let's get them 2.5, whether I feel extremely confident or not, which I think everybody understands where I'm at. I'm looking at it from a player perspective, from an organization perspective. Yeah, the way that they're handling things, maybe back in May, maybe back in April, that's the right mentality. Not in August. It's August 2nd, and you're 3.5 games back during this outing. And you're worried about, oh, yeah, let's just be cautious. I mean, it's foolish. It really is the way that they handled this all. But that ninth inning was amazing. I love the fact that, your guys just stepped up. Now, some of that had to do with the opponent being bad, but we do know that their schedule is easier, and these are the type of situations that are going to pop up throughout some of these series, so take advantage of it. You did not against the Pirates. You have not won a series since the first series when the second half began against the Marlins. You had plenty of opportunities to beat down on a bad opponent, and they haven't, and tonight they finally did late in the game, and you just knew it was going to play out that way. I mean, you could see the way the game was going back and forth, even after Zimmerman with the bases juiced after Alvarado got into a bit of a bad spot. And shocker, my man just can't throw strikes anymore. It's crazy. I think I took a screenshot of Alvarado. Corey Seidman covers the team for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Of course, it's crucial the Phillies get Jose Alvarado right. He and Matt Moore are the only lefties in the bullpen. Alvarado's put 25 men on base in his last 9 innings. And since we're on the topic of horrendous bullpen pieces, across 3 seasons, opponents of De Los Santos have hit 297, 370, 578. That's what they're slashing. He's been scored upon in more than half of his career appearances. I tweeted out during the game, I'm not loving De Los Santos, and literally 2 pitches later, I'm tilting my head to the left and I'm looking up as there was a moonshot to right field and the game was tied. I mean, you just know instantly. He falls in the same category of David Hale and a lot of those pieces that you saw last year. Brandon Workman. Whenever some of those guys got their number called and you saw them running from the bullpen out on the mound, you knew the other team was going to score some runs. Now, Archie Bradley came in, and there was that ground ball to Ryan Zimmerman that went through third base and shortstop. Joe Girardi after the game kind of alluded to it being unlucky because it was a ground ball, as if every ground ball in the history of the game is unlucky. I started laughing in that moment. Why? Why is that unlucky? He put it in between third base and shortstop, and it went into the outfield, and the Washington Nationals took the lead in that moment. I love how everything is always so damn lucky in this sport. I mean, Zimmerman does damage. We know that. Especially, we've seen him make some big splashes against this team throughout his entire career. Ranger Suarez, though, going back to him, I thought he was tremendous, and I'm really intrigued by just his attitude, his swagger, and hearing his teammates afterwards. It's pretty mind-blowing to just hear the way that they speak about him. He's cool, calm, collected, ready for the moment. He's got the stuff. He's got the swag right now, and he's going out there and he's pitching. That's what he's doing. He's going out there and he's pitching. It's not Matt Moore. It's not Vince Velasquez. He's going out there. It doesn't matter if it's a lefty. It doesn't matter if it's a righty. He's ready to shine. And one thing that he utilized heavily while out of that bullpen, of course, was pretty much 2 pitches in the sinker and the changeup. That took up 75% of his usage rate. Things do change when you become a starter, when you're talking about, and that's what his goal is to be, and that's what he once was a starter. So he's fully aware of this. This is not just coming out of nowhere and we're just reaching here. But, you start to rock through the lineup a bit more and people feel out your tendencies. You're going to have to add to the repertoire and use some more of your pitches. But previously, before this outing, that's something that absolutely was noticed, was that 75% usage rate for those 2 pitches. You're going to need more for sure. I love that early on stage, though, when he had Juan Soto up and he just had some paint, baby. He just knew what to do. Paint job, outside corner, rung him up, and just casually walked back to the dugout. And it's really fun, to be honest with you. I'm enjoying it big time. Another thing to note, which I've mentioned a couple of times so far, is with the whole De Los Santos thing, right? Somebody who should not be out there on the diamond. You know who should be? You know who should be a long man? Falter. You know where Falter is? He's kicking back, relaxing because he doesn't have his vaccine. And once again, costing this team issues, costing this team scenarios, being forced to utilize a player that gets shelled and gets rocked, as I alluded to with all those numbers. But, instead of being able to utilize a pitcher like Falter, who has had, in a small sample size, but has had success, you're costing your team. They won. They won in spite, though, of some of the decisions made by Joe Girardi. I thought that was just flat out awful, flat out disgraceful. Another night from Joe where there's so many head-scratching moments. It's bizarre. Going to that 7th inning, though, with Archie Bradley. After Zimmerman got the hit to take the lead, that might have been 3-2. I don't know if I said 2-1 earlier, but let's say it was 3-2. Prior to that 7th inning, JT Realmuto got a little ball right in front of home plate. There was a man on first and second. He throws it over to Alec Boehm, and Alec Boehm makes a special scoop, keeps his foot on the bag, and that was a big-time moment, no doubt about it. Also, after Zimmerman scored or had that big hit to score runs, Phillies got out of that jam with a double play. There could have been way more damage. So who knows how that would have impacted the end of the game. Not that anybody knew the score anyway. How Philadelphia Phillies is that? Is it 6-5? Is it 7-5? Who won the game? Imagine being on the mound. You look up and it says 6-5. You think it's 6-5. It's really 7-5. I mean, what's happening? It's not as if the blue behind home plate knew much, though. How many late calls did he have where he was stopping the play while the pitcher is in full motion? Here's Archie Bradley ready to throw a pitch. Here's some bullpen pieces being ready to throw a pitch. And in the middle of the windup, he's calling time. What are we doing here, Blue? Is this your first day on the job? I mean, come on. The fathers who coach Little League that are forced to be the umpire behind the plate for other teams when their teams are not playing do a better job than that. Come on, Blue. 8th inning, when the Phillies were down 1 run. You know how many pitches it took for the Nats to get out of that one? 4. Come on now. That's bad baseball. That's what that is. You got to be smarter at the dish. You got to recognize the moment. You got to recognize who the opponent is on the other side. I mean, come on now, fellas. 4 pitches to get out of that 8th inning. Sometimes this team just lacks awareness, lacks the smarts. Other times, though, when Alec Boehm is getting caught in between a rundown to score an extra run, that's a smart play. Thought Alec Boehm had some nice moments tonight for sure. So did JT Realmuto. So did Bryce Harper, a double down that left field line. That was huge. He also walked a couple times, an intentional walk. Bryce Harper continuing that hot stretch. He's reaching base safely, nonstop. This is an incredible journey. You know, this is kind of what we expected to see over the first 2 years, which you might have had that for a little bit of time, for a tiny, tiny, tiny window. This is seriously legit, and it's crazy because he's banged up. You know he's not playing healthy. You watched him grab for his ribs the other day when he banged into the wall. He gets hit in the wrist with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball that almost hits his face. You know, there's been so many different situations where he's had some back problems and he was nicked up a bit there. I mean, it's nonstop, something that's aggravating him, and these are still the numbers that he's providing. It's pretty damn wild, and it's incredible. It's one hell of a witness, that's for damn sure. If you're not embracing this journey out of Bryce Harper this year, then shame on you. And I love the fact that while he does this, you know, I'm getting some backlash on Twitter for what I brought up yesterday and what I brought up on The Fanatic on questioning if he's that leader and does he have control of the clubhouse. Those are two separate issues. Him hitting the baseball and him being the leader, two different things. I can't stand that we're 3 years in and we actually do ask the question, who's the leader of the Phillies? That question should never, ever, ever be asked. And it's a legitimate question. It's not made up. I'm not forcing it. It is a serious question. Who is the leader of the Phillies? It should never be. But that's two separate issues. I'm not going down that road once again. I made my point. I stressed my point. It is what it is. We're moving on. I love Bryce Harper right now and the way that he's squaring up the baseball and the way that he's bringing the intensity on the base paths and the way that he's earning his walks and starting some rallies and being a big part of a rally, whether he starts it or somebody else does before him, and he's adding on. He's being that second layer, so then the third layer comes and it's even more, right? I mean, there's definitely an element to the way that his OPS is flying through the roof. And if you look at the National League and his batting average, and speaking of, you know, during the broadcast, I heard Tom McCarthy bring this up. Juan Soto is swinging on pitches out of the zone at a 15% rate. What? That is wild. How are you that disciplined? And the first thing I thought about was, you know, how disciplined Rhys Hoskins is and how much we watch him at the plate. And, you know, there's some really strong at-bats where he'll work a count big time. It'll be 8-9 pitches, and he'll make sure that he lays off a pitch that's super close to the outside corner to make it a hitter's count, and then maybe he'll drive the next pitch, or he'll just work a walk in that moment. But I would say Rhys Hoskins is very strong in that area. Juan Soto is on a different level. Juan Soto raises the bar to an extreme, and he is one of a kind, and I hate him because he's on the Nationals, but I love him from a baseball fan perspective, and he's probably going to murder the Phillies a bunch more times in his career, but I could probably deal without the whole concept of licking the lips, grabbing the nuts, moving the legs in the batter's box. That's always going to rub me the wrong way. At the same time, whenever it's not against the Phillies, and let's say it's a big crucial moment in the ninth inning against the Marlins or against the Cubs or against the Cardinals, and I don't have that emotional tie, I almost think, damn, that's so sick, right? Sort of when you watch Ronald Acuna Jr. hit a grand slam or a 3-run shot against a team that's not the Phillies, and let's say it's a random AL team, the Minnesota Twins or the Baltimore Orioles. Who cares? I don't care that much. He's going to make plays. That's why he's Ronald Acuna Jr. If Freddie Freeman does it, although it's a lot different. Freddie Freeman's the professional who just does it, executes, gets back to the dugout. I'm talking more about the swag kids out there these days. Anyway, I digress. Mets lose. You're now at a situation of being 2.5 games back at 55 and 55, which, let's be realistic. What? What are we talking about here? We're talking about a 500 baseball team. That's 2.5 games back. Zach Wheeler on the bump tomorrow gives you optimism. Then you got to worry about after that. It's one game at a time. The Phillies are doing it again. They're doing it again. I need to see a lot more, though. I'm not ready to jump right back on that ship, but I can sense that there is a lot of that already happening because the Mets are losing. Look, you got a big series this weekend. Regardless of what happens against the Nationals, it's going to end up where it's going to end up in terms of games back, and then you see the Mets. That's going to be a very telling sign. What happens in that series is going to be monstrous. After that series is where I can give you a different assessment. Right now, I'm staying pat. Look, I've seen this team win a bunch of games. I've seen this team lose a bunch of games. They are a 500 mediocre baseball team. They lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I almost said the Steelers. Maybe they play football. I don't know. They lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They split with the Nats. They split with the Braves. That's what they do. So because they win a couple games here, they beat the Pirates in Game 3, they beat the Nats in Game 1, and they look to be set up nicely for Game 2 in this series with Corbin on the bump for Washington and Wheeler, as I alluded to 10,000 times already, on for the Phils. It looks good. It looks promising. I'll wait for after the Mets series to really change any type of feel because that's going to be something for sure. What else is something is DraftKings Sportsbook, which is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold, and DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer just for my listeners. Listen to this great deal. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code Brodes to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right. The Anytime Hotline. We have some phone calls. Let's kick it off. How do you feel? What was the reaction? Are we starting to sense that fans are ready to hop back on, or are they kind of holding back like I am, where let's not do this? Why? Well, we've been fooled 9 billion times this season. Once again, there's a difference between actually believing and this fun little stupid corny, yeah, they're going to do it, and then actually really die hard believing in them. I'm talking about that side. Not the corny, hey, here we go. Not that corny. I'm talking legitimate. Let's hear from the people. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey, bro, it's a nice win for the Phillies. Scoring 5 runs in the 9th inning. Nice comeback win. Gets back to 500, 2.5 games back. I still don't think we have enough to beat the Mets. Also, Ian Kennedy has not been very impressive. He's able to get the job done, but hopefully he can really step it up because this is not what I think we'd be getting.
Yeah, so it's funny. They were talking about him while he was pitching, and there was a comfortable lead in that time. It was, 7-3? There was a man on first base, and they were talking about how Ian Kennedy is excited and honored to be in a spot to actually compete. He hasn't been, as a reliever, in an opportunity where they were fighting for something, and there was legitimate, action involved, and the games truly mattered. And as that was being discussed, there gets a bomb destroyed, and you tie that together with what we saw in that first outing, and it doesn't look good. He seems to be just a guy, and keep in mind, because a lot of the noise surrounding sports talk radio here in Philadelphia today was, why are fans upset about moving on from Spencer Howard after we've roasted him for so many damn games and after so many outings? It's not so much getting rid of Spencer Howard that is the disappointing part of the trade. It's if you're objectively, logically looking at where the Phillies are and looking at Spencer Howard as a 24-year-old pitcher, you gave him up for a half of a year of Ian Kennedy. So this is what you gave up for him. And 2 games is not enough to really know who Ian Kennedy is, right? So he needs a lot more chances before I tell you this is him. But it's not a great start. And Kyle Gibson for a year and a half. Kyle Gibson's having a strong season. He's more of the 4 ERA than he is the 2.3 ERA, 2.3 I'm saying. the logic of trading and giving up on Howard, who I don't have the highest ceiling for anymore, and maybe he is just a reliever. Maybe he is just a bullpen piece. Once again, where this Phillies team is at 500, to give up on Spencer Howard for that is flawed logic. A half a year of Ian Kennedy and 1.5 years of a starting pitcher that is historically in the 4 ERA range. To me, that doesn't really add up. It doesn't make a lot of sense, even if Spencer Howard is a nobody. Even if Spencer Howard does not turn out to be sharp and the Spencer Howard that we all once dreamed him becoming, and even if he is just a guy later on, it doesn't make sense to me right now as we sit here. But it was a big comeback win. It was an explosive 9th inning. And you knew as soon as Suarez got on first base, as soon as he stepped up to the dish, he roped one out there, and he was on first. You kind of had a sense right there. Yup, they're going to do this. Yup, this is the Nationals. Yup, even if Brad Hand's no longer here, the next guy will step in and be pathetic as well. Here we go.
Thank God this terrible team found a way to win. They pulled it out. I mean, Eniel De Los Santos should never be started or should never come into a game. I don't know why. Joe Girardi freaking loves this guy. It's, I don't know. But Ranger Suarez, great performance. Should have won another inning, but he's an animal. Alec Boehm was probably the player of the game with a couple of really nice defensive plays. That base running, to get that last running, which kind of became important. And he had a couple of hits in there. And all around, the hitting came through late, but they should be killing this Nationals team. But I guess we picked up a game, but we'll see what happens the rest.
Yep, we'll just see what happens. That's as easy as it can get right there. We'll see what happens. Let's not go overboard. Does Joe Girardi love De Los Santos? No, I don't think he loves De Los Santos. I think he gets suckered into using him because of the egregious way they handle the bullpen, because they baby everyone, because they don't let guys throw on certain days, and this guy's sore and that guy pitched. I mean, like, the reason why, though, this is all one big snowball effect. 3 games ago, the way the bullpen is used impacts tonight's game. And tonight's game, because of the way you used Ranger Suarez, will impact tomorrow's game, which will impact 4 games from now. So the reason why you get stuck with using a player like De Los Santos where you don't want to utilize him is because of the horrendous way they use their pitching staff and the way they attack their bullpen. They set this up themselves. It's all self-inflicting wounds, and it's one big domino effect on why we even have to go with De Los Santos in that moment. I mean, it's crushing. It really is. How about Hector, though? Hector the Protector, using the splitter, getting a big K. It's so odd, I'm not going to lie, seeing him come into a game so damn early. At one point, I could have sworn I saw Matt Gelb tweet out that Matt Moore's warming up in the bullpen. No, not Matt Moore. And then before they went to the next cut, he tweeted out about Hector Neris. And just strange. I'm so used to him being that late inning guy. I'm very confused, too, on how they use Archie Bradley. I was talking to Shelfie about it, and obviously Shelfie is a fantastic baseball mind who does the Shelfie Showdowns here on Brodes Media, and he thinks that Archie Bradley needs to be getting looked at more for late-inning stuff, way more in that late-inning role than what they ever tried him with. And Archie Bradley specifically mentioned his injuries, not feeling right, not feeling great all year, and starting to kind of get back into rhythm a bit, and maybe, just feeling better out there, feeling more confident, feeling his body properly, and the ball feels smoother coming out of his hand and just feels more healthy. So, that's insanely big for him and production and this Phillies team. We'll see what Archie Bradley is all about as this season continues to play out.
What's up, bro? Phillies beat the Nationals 7-5. That was a great comeback win, all started by Ron Suarez and Travis Jankowski in the top of the 9th inning. Ranger Suarez, he was terrific. We had the Neris go 2 scoreless. With Santos, he got the home run. He's not that good.
He's definitely not that good. And I like the fact that you pointed out Toe, you pointed out Jankowski, who had a couple hits at the top of that lineup. And I don't know what he's all about long term. It's It's a player where there's a little bit of a rise. Do I think this is who Jankowski's going to be forever? No. He puts pressure, though, on the defense when he runs because he definitely has a hell of speed. And, oh, yeah, Andrew McCutchen, that's one thing I wanted to touch on. He goes to the IL, and there's something to be said about losing that bat. That's going to be definitely brutal. Right now, Rhys Hoskins is not available, and hopefully he comes back soon. I mean, as we alluded to, he was able to pinch hit, but not really able to do much else running-wise if he was even able to put the ball in play, which would have been a weird scene to see. Just like, I don't know, a praying mantis on somebody's hat, and then what you saw in the Yankees game where there's a cat running around the damn field. Just a bizarre night in the world of baseball. Kutch, though, you start talking about playing the Mets. You lose an Andrew McCutchen in your lineup. You hope to God Jankowski can play hot that night in that series. I don't know what he is, but I like the fact that you brought that up because a lot of the hot items tonight is Jean Segura's massive hit, JT Realmuto's clutch hit, which, yeah, they were. Doesn't happen, though, without the bottom of the lineup turning it over and then your leadoff guy who was questioned entering the night got on. Like, that matters. That's insanely, insanely huge. And with that, we're going to shut it down here after a 7-5 victory, 2.5 games back, 500 baseball. Can you believe it? Just wild. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.